programme format is a fast-paced, direct interview format whereby the interview will be Krishnan. It will last for 45 minutes with a 30-minute Q&A at the end. Please do prepare your questions so that we can delve right into the Q&A following the interview and don't waste any time. Before I pass on to Krishnan, I'd just like to say a few words about the Dialogue Society for those of you who are unfamiliar with our work and have not attended any of our events before. I will keep it short because I'm wary of the time. The Dialogue Society is a registered charity. It was founded in 1999, so it's been going for about 13 years now. And we seek to advance social cohesion by connecting communities together through dialogue. We do this in a number of ways. We hold discussion forums in the format of a panel discussion, a roundtable discussion, a panel discussion, to bring the public together and get them to dialogue. We have capacity building publications which we write and launch. Most recently we had 10 Dialogue Society community members which are currently being distributed free of charge to community centres so that they can plan and execute their own dialogue projects, giving them the hints, tips and advice on how they can do that the most effectively. Outreach, we have community coordinators who are assigned certain areas in the UK, and it is their role to help support and strengthen the dialogue work that goes on externally outside the Dialogue Society and support them in those localities. And finally, courses. We've held a dialogue school, a media school, a success school. We've had a dialogue studies MA, which we co-launched with Kiel University. We're actually taking applications for the next year, which will start in September, so if you're interested in that, please contact our academic director. The Dialogue Society is a non-partisan organisation which seeks to bring together a cross-section of society, people regardless of religious, racial, political or social differences. The underlying message is that we are all humans first and must learn to firstly listen, then understand, accept and then embrace one another. Before we begin, just a few safety procedures. In the case of a fire or an emergency, we have a fire exit next to the lifts on the left-hand side and another at the rear end, the corridor on the right-hand side. Now, please ask kindly for you to all switch off your mobile phones and put them on silent, and also no photography, please. We do have a Dialogue Society cameraman which will be taking a few pictures for the Dialogue Society website so that followers can keep up to date with what we are doing, and also this interview will be filmed and put onto the Dialogue Society website so that those who weren't fortunate enough to join us today can follow us online. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Siobhan Benita and Krishnan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I'm very sorry to have kept you waiting. You're all seated and waiting. Unfortunately, I had to do the news, but I got here as quickly as I can. I know they have their format of sort of 45 minutes and all that. I'll go for as long as I feel is sort of about right, and then I'm very keen to get you to drive it. So I'm sure you'll have all sorts of interests that don't necessarily occur to me in the initial interview, and if you kick something off, then maybe I can help you pursue it. So I'd rather do it sort of more collaboratively than just asking all the questions myself, because they may not be the questions you're really interested in. So, but I want to sort of do a bit of an introduction to Siobhan and what she's about first, and then we'll see how it goes from there. If you're desperate to come in on something as we're going, just kind of catch my attention and I'll try and sort of make a mental note that you're keen to get in on that. So Siobhan, welcome. Are you a politician?
No, I'm not a party politician. I'm obviously about to enter an amateur public life, so people are saying, well, you are going into politics, aren't you? I absolutely agree. Mayoral is political. Standing as an independent party.
Right, but are you sort of anti-politics?
I think the current system that we have, the political party system we have, is dysfunctional. I think our party politicians are out of touch. I worked in the civil service for 15 years, so I've seen it up close, personal, behind the scenes. I think the machinery of government swamps the politicians, actually. I think they lose the ability to say what they actually think, because they're too worried about the line and the spin and whether they're going to upset certain people or not. So in that respect, I think I have a lot of issues with our party politics at the moment. What I'm actually saying is, on the 3rd of May, people have the opportunity when they're voting for mayor to vote for a person. That role was always set up to be an individual. It's the one chance the electorate had to put party politics to one side. So my frustration was, we kind of
What makes you think people want to put party politics aside?
Because all the evidence
Given how
shows-
partisan people vote.
I mean, you've just got to look at the last couple of weeks, things that have happened. Both the government and the opposition have done foolish things. All of the polls say the dissolution of party politics. Now, I'm not naive enough to know I can go on a kind of one-woman mission against the entire establishment. And I know when people are voting in the general election, we will have all of the kind of national party politics at play. What I'm saying is the Mayor of London was never supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a leader for London. And actually, if you have somebody like me who's independent, I can spend all of my time fighting for London. I won't be fighting the ridiculous punch and judy battles that we see at the moment with the other candidates that we've got.
But being a mayor is also about being a leader. Being a politician is about being a leader. And then if you don't have a track record in politics, how do we know you're any good at leading?
Boris didn't have a track record when he was there.
Well, he had a track record of getting elected and operating in a political
not in a kind
environment.
of high-profile leadership role like that. My credentials for the job speak for themselves. As I say, 15 years right at the heart of government. I know how government works. I know how departments come together. I know how you have to bring government departments, private sector organisations together. I know how the money flows around the system. I know how public finances work. That's my credentials, and I think that gives me very good basics for running this.
You've worked in the civil service there, haven't you? I mean, the way government departments work isn't necessarily how London works.
The mayor, a big part of the mayor's role is facilitating change, it's driving change. So you have limited responsibilities and limited powers as the mayor. We all know transport, some elements of policing. But a bigger part of it is about that leadership role, and that's about bringing groups and organisations together to get things done. It's about lobbying government and lobbying Treasury where you need to get investment in London. So all of those things are exactly what I used to be in the civil service, and I know that world, and I know it really well.
And how do you think you would work with the Assembly, given how political that is, and how party political it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if anybody's watched Question Time, it's shocking in that it's terrible. The quality of the Assembly meetings is awful, exactly because the party politics gets in the way. So whenever you've got a party political mayor, you have Assembly members that are either Labour or they're either Conservative, and they bring up party political history from decades ago. So
But the risk is you won't get on with any of them,
no, the risk
and that they will just outmaneuver you.
No, the risk is I can have a sensible, impartial conversation with all of them. I don't have any stakes in the corner. I don't have those party political battle lines drawn. So I can have a sensible conversation. It might take some of them a while to get used to it. But you know what? When they do, it'll be much better than what we currently have.
Haven't you sort of given away your personal politics already? I mean, you've indicated that you're a bit of a lefty, really. But you just don't like Ken. That's sort of basically where you're at, isn't it?
I would nuance that. I have always voted Labour. I've always voted Labour, and I'm very honest about that. Like a lot of Labour voters, I can't bring myself to vote for Ken, and there are lots of people who feel like that. We can go into that later. But actually, the wider issue for me is I don't think nowadays political parties are what they used to be. When I was growing up, and I think most of my generation are like this, you basically reflected what your parents thought in terms of politics. So your parents kind of set this, black and white, Labour stood for one thing, Conservatives stood for another. I know my daughters don't have that same sense of what political parties stand for, because they are now all fighting over this kind of muddle in the middle. There isn't the same clarity in political parties anymore. The coalition is adding to that muddle at the moment. People don't really know what Lib Dems are doing. They're getting a bit swamped in the whole coalition. My argument is those old labels no longer apply, full stop. So yes, I used to vote Labour. Do I really know what Labour stand for now? No. They're in a complete identity crisis at the moment. They don't want to be associated with New Labour anymore. They don't want to go back to old Labour anymore. They really don't know what they're about. So I just think those old labels don't apply.
What have you run before? You want to run a great city like London, what do you run?
I've run lots of projects in the civil service. So I've run, the civil service has it's the biggest public sector organisation, 500,000 people. I've run big reform programmes for the civil service. Lots of public sector organisations.
Give us an example.
Modernising. I improved the diversity across the civil service, so I was in charge of improving diversity, improving equality in the civil service, and the stats speak for themselves. Compare the civil service to any other public sector organisation, and they are way ahead of any other public sector organisation.
Are you taking credit for that as the leader of it? I mean, there was a big project.
There are a lot of people,
but Gus O'Donnell was very involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? When you're Mayor of London, there are a lot of people helping you as well. So again, I'm not this big ego that's saying I'm doing everything on my own. One thing that I was taught in the civil service is you have to know the people that you need around you. So one of the things I'm always asked is, have you run a budget of £14 billion before? No, I've never run a budget of £14 billion before. But nobody's ever run a budget of £14 billion.
Have you ever run a budget?
Yeah, I've run budgets. And my last two jobs...
Civil servants generally don't run budgets. So...
Well, civil servants do run budgets.
Well, not in the Parliament. I mean, give us an example of...
They do run budgets. I was in the Department of Health. The National Health Service budget is far, far bigger.
Which bit of the NHS budget did you run?
Well, I actually managed the departmental board in the Department of Health. So I was in a strategic position in terms of spending...
So that's not managing a budget, is it? That's a strategic position.
It's a strategic position, but I contributed and actually headed up the units that did the negotiations with Treasury for the spending review for the Department of Health. So that's crucial to how much the department gets in its spending deal. And I don't think anybody would argue that the Department of Health didn't do quite well in its spending review. We were actually the one department that did get quite a good deal in the spending review. I've been through 3 spending review cycles in my career as a civil service. What I'm saying is no one person can ultimately manage everything in a £14 billion budget. What you have to be able to do is be on top of financial management. You have to know how you manage a budget like that. You have to be sure that the structures and the people and the processes and the checks and the scrutiny and the risks and the audits are all in place. One of my policies that I'm bringing in, because I don't think those risks and checks and audits are being done very well in City Hall at the moment with the Mayor's budget. So I've actually announced today that I would bring in an independent office of budget responsibility for London, which would put an end to this constant kind of vanity projects that we have at the moment. This constant, well, what's that value for money? What's that not value for money? We have this every time we get a new area. And I'm saying put a check on the system, an independent check, just like we have now nationally. Have an independent office of budget responsibility that will scrutinise how the mayor...
You set up a new office?
Yeah.
Why not just use the one that's there?
Because the one that's there is not independent. So you do not have an independent check. There is no independent check at the moment on the way the mayor uses that budget. And we're in this constant, nobody can... I would actually say it's virtually impossible for the public to know who's speaking the truth on the figures between Ken and Boris. They banter around stats and figures. You can't get the right information out of City Hall, believe me, I've tried. It's pretty impenetrable to look at actually the numbers. You do not know who to trust. And I'm saying put an end to that. I'm confident enough, if I got in this job, I would have an independent check, so an office that reports to the Assembly, that's held to account by the Assembly, not to me, who scrutinises every project that I want to initiate as mayor. And their role is to say, is that project and that use of that budget in the best interest of London?
So how many people are we talking about? I mean, you know how big these sorts of things become. I mean,
my estimate is you would probably need about 4 to 6 economists, that's it.
6 people to scrutinise everything in London?
To scrutinise the budget, yeah. You do have, let me just be clear, this is just the independent check. Boris already has, or Brendan before him as well, you already have economists working in the City Hall. I want to get rid of them, but they're working for me. They're not independent of me. And I'm saying you put an independent check in the system. You don't need loads of people to do that. Actually, at the moment, Boris Johnson in his private office has 41 people. I've worked in a cabinet secretary's private office. You do not need 41 people in your private office. So in terms of paying for that independent office, that would be a reprioritisation of staff. 5-year forecast for London. So what are the international trends that are happening? What are the domestic trends that are happening that are having an impact on London's economy? They could be doing that work as well, because nobody's doing that.
What would be your top priority, the thing you would want to change above everything else?
The central difference in my campaign, I think, to the others is I've put youth right at the heart of my campaign. I think the other candidates, shockingly, ignore young people in London, and they do it for a cynical reason, I believe, because there are no votes there. But actually, if you're going to transform London, if you're going to make it a better place for everybody who lives in and works in, you have to start with the younger generation.
This is your education commissioner.
This is, I launched a manifesto today that is called Making Education and Youth a Male Priority. So it has in there a 3-point education plan. It has in there an appointment of an education commissioner. But I'm also saying I would appoint the first ever young man for London, and that would be a public appointment to people who apply for the
To
job.
do what?
To actually provide a strong voice for young people at the heart of City Hall.
Appointed by you.
No, it would be a public appointment.
How?
So the public appointment can be run by the usual public appointment process, which I know the cabinet runs.
So nominated by who?
People can apply. So it'll be an advert, it'll be a job, people can apply for it, and there'll be a panel, and it'll be a selection process.
And so who would be on the panel? I mean, who's
I don't
going to
know
decide?
exactly
Who's going
I
to choose?
would-
Who's going to pick this 16-year-old?
I imagine that I would be one of them, and then I would probably have 2 or 3 other people alongside me who would choose that young man. What I have said is the mayor owns £143,000. I'm prepared to give up £43,000 of that salary to create a new young man. And what I don't want that young man to do is just be consultant on youth issues. Because what public leaders tend to do is they talk to young people about negative things, they talk to young people when there are crime issues. I know from having kids of my own, from talking to young people all across young London, they want to be involved in shaping the future of London. They care about the environment, they care about housing, they care about education. Let's not keep talking young people down, let's give them an opportunity to really shape the future.
And what power would this young man have? What would they do?
They would be one of the senior leadership team. They would also, what I'm saying is I would create alongside that a youth assembly, so a Greater London Youth Assembly, which would basically be parallel to the assembly that we have now. There are currently in London 4 youth ministers. There are 4 boroughs that have youth ministers. And these are actually elected through processes in schools and youth clubs in the borough. And I'm just saying that's working really well. When we have those, it's really good in boroughs. Let's have one of those in every borough in London. Create a youth assembly. That's a really strong new channel for young people in London. And they can hold me to account.
It's not representative, though, is it?
But you've got to start somewhere. And actually at the moment, young people don't have any voice in City Hall. And yet,
But won't it just be a bunch of sort of busybody young kids who want to get into politics?
Great, if young people want to get into politics.
Well, there are a few, but there are minorities.
I'm saying fantastic. When you look at actually who's been elected to the youth mayors at the moment, they generally are from a very diverse background. It's a broad spread of people who are coming forward those roles. I don't want this just to be a talking shop for privilege. It's actually not. And you can make sure that the way that you run the election process is actually
Okay. What would your commission do? How would you actually be able to change education in London, given you're not in charge of it as the mayor?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've identified, you know, once you get into the education sphere, it's almost, you could go on forever. But the things that I'm saying are there are 3 very obvious areas where the mayor can make a difference, regardless of whether you've got legislative powers to do it or not. We know in London already there is a severe shortage of primary schools. There are boroughs shouting this at the moment. There are kids being taught in temporary accommodation. The figures show that we've got 70,000 more children who are going into primary school in the next 15 years. There is no strategic plan at all to deal with this problem. And I'm saying, in the same way that Ken and Boris have both fought government to get investment in big transport projects, I will fight government to get investment in our kids. And ask ourselves what's more important. So one, I'm saying the mayor can absolutely fight for investment in children. And that's something, you don't need powers to do that, that's about lobbying.
What is it exactly? Are you lobbying for a bigger budget for the Department of Education?
No,
Or what exactly, I mean, how do you think you would open new schools? If you were open new schools?
Yeah, I'm lobbying for money that would go into a building programme for schools across London. Boroughs are having to teach these kids. There's nothing, you're not creating a new system for them. These children have to be taught. They don't have schools to be taught in at the moment. There is a very basic problem here that needs to be addressed. And I'm so passionate about this, and I'm so determined to prove how independent I am, that I am saying in the meantime, because even if you start building schools now, there's going to be a gap. In the meantime, even though I don't believe free schools are the right way to go, I have reservations about free schools, one thing the mayor could do is create some free schools across London to help kids, because those can be set up.
You can create them.
Yeah, you could. Well, I can apply like everybody else, but as long as I meet the criteria, there's no reason why I shouldn't get them. All I'm saying is,
What I mean is you don't have power here, do you? Michael Gove has the power and George Osborne has the power. What you're suggesting is basically sort of setting up an education company within London.
No, I'm just saying there is a shortage of primary schools. It needs capital investment in the same way the mayors have lobbied for investment in Crossrail and Boris has got extra money for his cable company. Let's put some of that energy into lobbying government for our children because we desperately need to do it. And I actually think it's shocking that the mayors so far have sat back and been passive in this area. It's not good. So that's the first bit of my education strategy. The second bit, the mayor can absolutely tackle it because there is no legislative barrier here. And this is the transition from primary school to secondary school is chaotic in London. Every borough is running its own system. The selection criteria are different across boroughs. You've got some boroughs doing better than others. You've got kids, you've got siblings being separated. You've got some people not getting their top preferences. In other boroughs they are. And actually, when you look at the statistics, quite often it's families from minority backgrounds who lose out the most because they're too busy working to try and work out the confusion in their systems. There's a point, very clearly, the stats show it, where some groups lose out just because the system is so chaotic in London. And you also have huge numbers of families in London who are paying to have their children privately tutored from a ridiculously young age because they believe the only way they're going to get their kids into a good school is to tutor them and get them into a selected school. It's like a hidden tax. And I'm saying, when did that become normal in our education system?
So how do you
wrong. So in this case, it's a very simple case of the mayor takes a strategic approach, looks across London and says, where is the good practice? And let's spread it. Because some boroughs are doing better than others. Every borough has a satisfaction measure for parents. These are published on the DfE website. The mayor can play a very simple role here in saying, you know what, that borough over there, you're in the worst, you're in the bottom 5 in terms of satisfaction. Your parents are telling you your system is not working. Can you please link up with those boroughs over there who are getting it wrong?
And they might say, go to hell.
Why would they do that?
Because they will say, we're elected, just like you, we have the power, we have the budget, who are you going to sort out the buses?
If the mayor is shining a light on this borough compared to others, the mayor and the public between them can definitely change it. And I'm not, sometimes the boroughs are doing their best. You know, I'm not criticising the boroughs over East. They're very busy.
They have a
They're
democratic
very
mandate.
stretched. Absolutely. They would welcome, I am sure, the mayor helping them in getting their parents' satisfaction levels up. This is not me coming and saying, I'm going to make it harder for you. I'm coming and saying, I can help you here, make this system work better. And the third bit of the education strategy, and again, this is totally within the mayor's ability to do this. All of the statistics show that some children in London come out of the education system with better qualifications than others. And actually, you can take that data, you can work with boroughs, and you can say you need to have much more bespoke targets for those children in your schools. Now, absolutely, again, they're just playing a strategic role. there are businesses, and they've come to me during the campaign, there are businesses as well who are saying, we are not teaching our children the right things. They are not coming out of school with the skills that are going to help them get the jobs that are available at the moment. And we have a Secretary of State at the moment who's going in the wrong direction. We have a Secretary of State who's saying, teach our kids Latin. That's not going to help them get a job in London. Because the jobs that are available in London, and there aren't many out there at the moment, are in things like the next generation, high tech, creative media, those kind of things. Businesses are saying, we will work in schools. I'm not saying they can change the curriculum. I don't want to get into that. I'm not bashing teachers or the profession or anything. I'm saying that they can work with businesses who are telling me they want to put on classes, they want to put on workshops for kids to get them interested in these things that are going to help them get jobs at the end of the day. It's a facilitating role. All of these things are within the power of the men to do in their leadership role. You do not need legislative powers to do these things. And if you get this right, and you help every child in London to improve their opportunities, to improve the skills that they come out with, that's how you transform London. Much more than you will with shining the bus. And I will keep banging.
Okay, can we let's just deal with some of the transport issues briefly. I'm not sure how interested the room is in them, but let's deal with some of them briefly. Fares. What are you going to do about fares?
I'm taking a very sensible middle road on fares. I don't think Kent's 7% is affordable. Equally, I think people are finding it so tight at the moment that they don't want Boris to just keep saying, I'm going to let fares rise. I'm saying I would freeze fares until April 2014, when I take another look at them. And in the limited pot of money that is available, I would give reductions to people who are on anything below the London living wage. And more
Which is
than that,
what?
it's yeah. Thank you. Any difficult questions you can ask. And actually, I would like to graduate this. I'm going to be honest here. Until I get in and see the books, I'm not going to say exactly what that reduction is, because I don't know, because I can't tell you obviously what the figures are, because I cannot get them from system. I've tried and I can't. So I don't know how big the reduction could be. What I would like to
it'd
do,
be based on just is that metric?
I would like to do a sliding scale. So I would like to do that you will have the biggest reduction possible if you're on the minimum wage, and then it will slightly graduate up to when you hit the London.
And how would that be tested or proven? Or what would you do? How would you say I only earn X?
It's actually, all of the infrastructure is there, because I don't know if any of you have got young children, but actually to get a zip card, which is like a version of the Oyster, you have to take proof to the post office, a one-off proof that you're under 15 and you get it. All I'm saying is you can have a very similar thing. You take proof to the post office, that's one way of doing it, and you get a particular Oyster card.
What, of your income?
Of your income. And that could last, say, 6 months or a year. There is another way of doing it. There are various things.
So you would means test it, because there's a lot of resistance to means testing.
It's a means testing.
There's a lot of resistance to having to go into the post office, or whoever it might be, and meet the guy who you probably know, and say, you know what, this is what I earn. This is my.
I think if people are
You
going to
think
get,
people would be up for that?
yeah, I think they would. If they're going to get a reduction on something that is hugely expensive to travel around London, I don't think people would mind.
Because wasn't the lesson from pensioners that they really didn't like means testing benefits? And
Yeah, but that's because it was going the opposite direction. What I'm saying is these are people who aren't currently getting a reduction, and I would be giving them one. I don't think people who aren't getting it would mind actually getting it. When you start taking away things, then I think that's a different issue.
right.
I am going further than that and saying actually there's an economic case for saying people who are out of work but who are actively seeking employment should be allowed to travel for free. Because one of the things at the moment that people are telling me is they can't afford to go to job interviews because the transport is so expensive. And surely it's in London's best interests to help those people get back into employment. So I would like to offer free travel as well. We've costed this, and our best costs at the moment, the best that we can do with the figures that we've got, is that this would cost 54 million a year. And I think that is affordable for what is currently in the budget. It's a lot lower, it's a lot less cost than Kent's going forward.
Okay. An airport.
Yes.
You want to expand Heathrow?
I do.
So you kiss goodbye to all those voters in Richmond?
Yeah, you know what? I probably have kissed goodbye to the voters in Richmond. What I haven't done is kiss goodbye to the voters in Hounslow and Hillingdon, which again is what the party politicians were trying to say when they said we're not going to expand Heathrow. They said because everybody in Hounslow and Hillingdon doesn't want this rubbish. People living in that local area, they are challenged like everybody else with things like unemployment. That's a very big issue for them at the moment. Expanding Heathrow will bring investment to West London that desperately needs it. At the moment, Hounslow is the borough where businesses are shutting down faster than any other borough. And I don't like the fact that voters in Richmond predetermined government policy. And it was very short term, it was around the election, and Labour and Conservative were fighting over those voters. And they did something that they knew was not the right thing for London. And you can see now the Tories are trying to backtrack. They're trying to bring it back on the table without losing faith. I know from working behind the scenes, every political party agrees with me that the right way to expand airport capacity is a third runway Heathrow. They will not say it because of party politics, and it's the worst kind of party politics.
I'm going to open it up in a second, but I just want to sort of do a few sort of quick fire questions, because people also kind of want to know about things that aren't necessarily the mayor's business, but what your position is on.
Okay. Do I have to answer all of them?
Well, you don't have to answer anything, but people will draw their own conclusions. What, for instance, you know, a lot of people around this part of London want to know what people think, or what their politicians think about the Middle East, about Israel-Palestine, and that issue. And where do you stand?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Well, they want to know what your instincts are. I mean, it's reasonable to ask.
okay. I've said in this campaign I will be honest from the start. So my honest answer is you have to avoid conflict wherever possible. I'm going to do, my line on this is very similar, I think, to what a lot of other politicians are saying, in that everybody has the right to defend their own home. I completely agree with that. But do you want an escalation of violence in a very vulnerable area? No. I'm not going to come down on one side or the other. I'm always saying in my campaign that I am about collaboration, not confrontation. And my instincts will always be to try and bring people together to find a solution. That's me, that's my gut instinct. So I will apply that to every situation, whether it's domestic or whether it's international.
How much impact do you think that conflict has on communities in London?
I think all of those kind of issues have absolutely a knock-on effect locally, because it affects the way people think, it affects their kind of day-to-day politics. It has affected them. So again, I don't want to be negative about the other candidates, but what some of the other candidates are doing are playing off the different groups across London in, I think, quite an obvious, dangerous way. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to
What are you talking about?
buy those. Well, I think both Ken and Morris have tried to support different communities, different groups, different points during this election. So they said things about, issues that are going on abroad. They said things deliberately because they're going out to call one group overnight because they've been more close. I don't want to do that. I don't think I have to do that. I'm sticking to the role that I'm here. If you are Mayor of London, you are here to make life better for everybody in London. Just like the Dialogue Society, it's about highlighting the similarities between groups. That's what most people want. That's what the vast majority of people want, whatever group and whatever community they live in. And that's where the mayor should stay. They should not get down into picking off one group against another.
Okay, I'm still going to ask you some more questions. Were you against the law in America?
Okay, I'm going to be honest again here. From where I sat in the civil service, I will give the government the benefit of the doubt in that I think they went into it thinking they were doing the right thing. I think where they went wrong was when they realised it was the wrong thing. They didn't know how to get themselves out of it, and they didn't apologise for having done so.
If you were in charge, would you pull the troops out of Afghanistan now, or would you leave them alone until the job is done? Is that awful phrase?
Again, that it's too simple to give a black and white answer to that. You have to get the balance right. When you've gone into a situation like that, you have to try and find the appropriate moment where you are leaving, hopefully, that country in a better, stronger situation.
Do you think that's possible in Afghanistan?
It's looking difficult. But you've got to keep working. When you know, it's about getting the infrastructure as strong as possible.
Okay. It's about 9:05. I think I'm going to open it up now.
Can we have some London questions?
Who would like to kick off? Don't be shy.
I was just going to say, I mean, in explaining what it is that you'd like to do, obviously there's a lot of power struggle there, there's a lot of negotiation, convincing government departments and you know, councils and various bodies. How well do you think you're doing so far in convincing mainstream media to give you a platform? Because that surely is indicative of how well you might be able to do when.
I would say I have had, especially this weekend, people want to go with you. I have had the best coverage in the print media of any independent in an election like this, bar when the censorship as an independent wasn't really independent. I've had the Times calling for me to be given a platform. I've had the Guardian leader calling for me to be given a platform. I've even got the back of Tom Conti, which is quite good. In terms of print media, I'm doing better than anybody expected. The broadcasters are maintaining their position that they cannot give me a platform alongside the Boris.
And their reason is?
Their reason is the Ofcom rules do not allow them to do this. And the Ofcom rules, which I'm challenging, are based on general elections. So they're based on what your political party turnout or your political party end results were in the last election. I'm saying, can't you see how crazy that is? For an independent, I can't have previous party results. Now I know, and I will take this up, whatever happens on the 3rd of May, I will challenge them saying their rules are out of date anyway, or even for a general election, I think their rules are out of date. They are going to have a real problem come November when we start trying to appoint police commissioners and other mayors across the country. What rules are they going to apply there? If you're getting other independents coming forward, these rules do not apply. They were not made for these types of elections. So I'm challenging them, and I'm challenging them hard. There are 3 weeks left in this election. I'm just asking for one public debate alongside Ken and Boris, because I think if people see me on a platform alongside Ken and Boris, they will realise there is a different alternative. There is something else.
You can do the Nick Clegg in 2012.
Yeah. I don't want to end up like this.
Well, I suppose that the counter to that is, would you apply that to every candidate? So if the Loonies put up a candidate and they got the money together, that they would get in on the debate. Is that okay with you?
I have to say yes to that. I do. There are 7 candidates.
Because once you're in the debate, you've got to have equal time.
Yeah. There are 7 candidates in this election. Let 7 of us think. Let the public decide. I know people are nervous. One of those candidates is a BNP candidate. He's a joke, and they all agree with me in the sense of he doesn't even realise himself, and I've spoken to him why he's standing for BNP. I think this would be the best thing, and it would cause the end of the BNP faster than anything else you could do.
But what if he was a good candidate? what
I'm
are people's
saying,
disposal? You would be happy with that as well?
let the public choose. BBC put the BNP or questions online, and their ratings, the BNP rating, went down. When people see some of the awful policies that some of these extreme parties have, that's better. Shine a light on them and shame them. And I don't know why we're so scared of it.
Who else? Yes.
Well, don't you think you're putting yourself in risk by saying that you always voted for Labour?
All I can do in this election, to be honest, when people ask me that question, and I was asked it once on a TV show, and I had no idea it was coming, and I had to make that split decision: do I say it or not? And what went through my mind was, if I was a politician at that moment, I would have said, I don't want to say. I don't want to be like that. I want people to see me and know me, and I will tell people what I voted, and I always voted. But my honest thing now is, do I know what I would vote now? No, because I really can't tell that much difference between the parties. If it goes against me, fine. All I can do at the moment, when I started this campaign, say, I'm going to be honest from the start, which I will stick to.
So you're not a politician?
I'm not a party politician.
Party politician.
I'm sure it will get me into trouble. I'm sure I'm going to say something at some point, and I'll go, oh my God, why did I say that? Really? I've got to go.
Who else? Yes, at the back.
Hi, Siobhan, you've talked about your education packages and a bit about transport. Could you just talk a little bit about your security, safety, policing measures as well for
Sure.
London?
This will be coming out in the next couple of days. My big idea on policing, which isn't launched yet, so this is the first thing I'm saying, is I actually think we need a fundamental capability review of the Met Police. And I think there are two debates going on around the Met, and they need to be brought together. So one is there's the efficiency problem with the Met Police. So Boris and Ken are doing lots about how many police should be on the streets or not. Actually, I agree with Jenny Jones on this. It's not a question of just how many you stick on the street. It's a question of how do we use those resources to the best effect. And for years, nobody has actually done a proper look at the Met Police and say, are you using the police that you have in the most effective way? Right up from when you train specialist units, to the safe neighbourhoods teams. How actually, there's this kind of perpetual debate around how do you best use civilians, how do you best use the police. Let's once and for all do a proper look across the Met at how you use those policemen. This year, Boris had to fill an efficiency gap, so he had to ask government for £85 million just to meet the police budget this year. And there is a shortfall in his budget that he's produced for 2013-14 of another 600 million. So we know whoever comes in, the Met Police is going to have to deliver more because the population is growing in London with less. The only way we can do that is do a proper efficiency review of how we use all of those police. But at the same time, there's this other debate going on over here about culture in the Met Police. And the mayor that we've got, and the mayor that we had before, didn't show strong enough leadership in this area. They have let these issues linger for too long.
You're talking about racism.
I'm talking about racism, I'm talking about the Leveson inquiry that links to the press, I'm talking about the way people are treated in custody, all of these issues. I'm not saying that every police officer is racist. I don't believe that for a minute. As a public servant myself, I'm not going to knock an entire profession. I think probably most police officers do a difficult job and they do it as well as they possibly can. But there are enough cases, there is a significant issue here, the culture of the Met Police, that we need to address it head on. So I'm calling for, my big idea of crime and policing is you have an external team that review the Met Police, and they have two strands to that. One is efficiency and one is culture. And we shouldn't shy away from this cultural issue. It needs to be addressed because the tensions between the police and some groups in London are huge, and we have to tackle that.
But isn't that really saying you don't know? I mean, that's sort of let's have a big review.
No, it's
Presumably
not
carried out by former police chiefs, because they usually are.
no, absolutely. I'm
So,
saying that
so then carried out by people that don't know anything about policing. Because that's
I'm
the
saying
option.
you have to have a mix of people. You have to have a mix of people who are experts in the police service from a user point of view, so people who are on the end of the police service, as well as people who provide the service. So yes, you might have an ex-police officer in there, but you know what? You would have community groups in there as well. You might have an ex-permanent secretary of the Home Office in there or something. I'm saying bring an external light on the message.
So would you be committed as mayor to carry out whatever that report recommended?
Absolutely.
Even if it was bonkers?
Well,
What kind of
yeah,
leadership
I mean,
would that
then
be?
you're never gonna do a public inquiry, you're never gonna do anything if you say that.
But that's why governments don't commit to do everything that is in a Royal Commission or anything like that, because they know they might not agree with it. You're saying you'll do it.
You also have a checking system, so there is a committee already in the GLA that looks at crime and police safety. So the report would go to them as well, the review would go to them. So it's not going to be a bonkers report. If it's a bonkers report, I'm sure.
But there might be an idea you personally really disagree with.
Then I'd have a public discussion about that. Again, I'm not sure why public leaders are so scared. If there is something in the findings of a report, I'm not going to do what I know so many politicians do, which is draft a kind of fudgy muddle out of it. Have that discussion head on. Say, actually, do you know what? The report has come up with this. I agree with 3 of these recommendations. I don't agree with the 4th one for these reasons. Have that. I don't understand why we are so frightened as public leaders to have those.
But didn't you just say you would do it? So are you saying you would do it? Are you saying you'd do it or not? Because you just said, yes, I'd do everything that they say. Now you're saying, well, I might not do everything
Let
they
me
say.
qualify then. My assumption was that the team wouldn't be barking mad, but you're quite right. If they came up with a barking mad assumption, I would be prepared to say, I think that assumption, that review, that one recommendation in that report is barking mad and let's have a discussion. Hopefully come up with a sensible suggestion.
And what do you think you could affect as a mayor on racism in the police force?
Well, you know, I think this
What
is
could you say?
exactly what the review would have to tackle. It's interesting. I don't think it's only racism that's an issue. I think if you have an interaction with the police force, it can be a negative one for a whole host of reasons. Equally, I think if you're a gay person in London, quite often they complain about the way they are treated by the police force. If you're just any person walking down the street, quite often contact with the police can appear quite hostile from the start. There is something in that connection between the police and the public that isn't working at the moment. And I'm saying the review would have to look into all of those complaints. There are lots of complaints that are made against police every year. Not all of them are high profile racism.
Do you have faith in the commissioner? Because obviously Boris got rid of one.
Yeah, you know, and I think, I don't know the Commissioner personally. I think the things that he said since he's come in have been quite sensible. I do think that the Mayor should be saying, for all of the effort that is going into things like tribal, into clamping down on the gangs, we need the same amount of effort going into preventing crime in the first place. Now that's not the Commissioner's job necessarily to do that, but I would like that debate being had as well. So I think unless you put as much effort into prevention of crime, we're just going to get the same issues coming up over and over again. And we're not seeing everything I would like to see.
Was it you? Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'll ask you a less political question that you can read out.
Thank you.
I had a friend over the weekend from Belgium, and I really struggled to explain what is congestion charge. Can you explain us, what is your policy and views for it?
My views on congestion charge. I've said that I think we need to get back to the reason why we brought in the congestion charge, which was to reduce congestion. And actually, it's not doing that anymore. I would like a smarter pricing on congestion. So I'm actually saying that I would be prepared to put the price up slightly at peak times. And so I don't scare everybody, I'm saying I would cap that at a rise of £1. Currently £10, no more than anything else, £11. What you should see then is a decrease of the congestion charge during the day, because it's supposed to be about, to coin the phrase, smoothing traffic flow, and we're not getting that.
Doesn't that risk just shifting traffic? If you have a drop off at 10 o'clock or whatever, people just shift when they
But
go
it
to work.
depends what you think the congestion charge is for. So actually, if you want it as a tax on drivers, stick with what we've got. If you want it to reduce congestion, fine. You do want to encourage people to drive at different times of day, because that's how you smooth the traffic flow, and that's how you get rid of the congestion. And problems for air quality in London, it's congestion. So actually there's an environmental benefit of doing this as well. What has been an eye-opener? Because again, I would like to be able to give exact figures and facts, because they would be quite rightly in scrutinising my manifesto. The TfL have stopped monitoring traffic flows around the congestion charge since 2008. So there's pretty much a kind of, they're basically saying, we don't really care anymore what the impact is on traffic. We're using it as a tax. If that's what it is, fine, but let's be honest about it. But it's not helping with the congestion problem, which is what it's important to do.
And would you widen it potentially as well,
No.
even to manage the congestion?
No, I think the other issue that you've got now, which I would support, we were looking at this before, very helpfully for the Department of Transport did a consultation on this. One of the other factors in congestion is roadworks. It's a huge problem across London. No strategy on roadworks, the utilities, the roads, duck-up bridges. The Department of Transport have done a consultation, and they've come up now with a scheme that allows boroughs to fine utilities for digging up the roads. And actually, to be fair, Boris has put this in his manifesto as well, I think. You can use that scheme in other areas to be preventing congestion, so you have another possibility of to do it. It's something Boris promised 4 years ago, by the way, and didn't.
Yes.
I'm involved in IT entrepreneur, and you know there's a Silicon Valley now in East London.
I've been to today.
Okay, great. And the government recently sort of took over this and renamed it the Tech City. So I don't know, there's 1.6 billion budget was allocated. I'm not sure where this budget. So I just came back yesterday from San Francisco. And there's a lot of things that we need to achieve to reach that level. What's sort of your view on this Tech City project? And do you agree with this, or would you rather maybe you move it somewhere else?
Not necessarily move it somewhere else. I think the whole debate around kind of making sure that London remains the most high-tech city and that it becomes the most high-tech city in the world, that absolutely should be our aspiration. London's the best city in the world. It should be the best connected city in the world as well. But we have to do the right things to allow that to happen, to have that kind of investment fund that actually lets that happen. Go back to my Heathrow policy. If you do not increase airport capacity, you will not get the investment from abroad to make this happen. That's clear. I had a meeting with Marlene Fox, who's the digital champion, and she said it's far more complicated than the government saying. It's not just about getting in big investors. It's not just about making sure we have the Wi-Fi and the broadband capacity. We have to make sure that people in London understand how to use that and to exploit it. So one of the things that I'm quite keen on is, yes, to keep all of that big investment. I would absolutely support that. I'm very pro investment in big projects like that. But actually, at the same time, I want to make sure that people who aren't benefiting from the kind of high-tech regulation do. So the most vulnerable people in our society who can be helped by getting blind, for example, aren't. And the mayor can do a lot more, I think, to help bring initiatives, real ground-roots initiatives, to make sure that some of the poorest families in our society get access. Not just, there have been schemes, for example, it's a bit like those schemes, you know, where you give somebody a fire alarm that you forget to give them a battery. And there have been schemes where houses and households have been given computers, but nobody's actually taught people how to switch it on. You know, so it's one of those things. So yes, I'm very pro making sure that we do the investment and keep London looking forward to the next thing all the time. We should actually be doing that. But let's not forget that actually I want Londoners to benefit from that as well and do that end of the investment as well. And that's not being done.
Yes.
What do you offer for businesses? You know, financial needs are rising, the jobs are getting emptier, more shops empty, less streets.
Again, this is really difficult. I'm very interested in some of the kind of creative local enterprise zones where you can offer business rates for small businesses. I think we should be doing a lot more of those. I'm very will do is work very closely with the London councils who are really active on this and come up with some of those really creative ideas on the ground. I think there's the kind of push at the moment for the high street as well, and how do you reinvigorate high streets. And I think that's hugely important for small businesses as well, and that you have to tie in to all of the kind of planning and you know, how do you get those local areas to be much more vibrant than they are at the moment. I think there's huge potential to work more effectively with the kind of London Council setup. That you know, the London Council is basically a group of organisations that come together with boroughs to actually say there are things that we can do at a local level, but it helps us to have the mayor involved in this. And it's used a lot for small business as well. So that's certainly one area. I'm quite keen to use that for all sorts of things. I've got an initiative on kind of 5 local things that people care about most. And actually you get every borough to tell the mayor what those 5 local things are, and the mayor then holds each borough to account for making those things better in every borough. So I think it's about getting in at the local level.
Yes.
From what you said, I understand that you are in support of the free schools policy. You said that you would be lobbying for more free schools to be open because you say there's a deficit of 160 primary schools.
No,
You said you didn't really like it.
No, let me nuance that. I'm personally, I'm not convinced that free schools are the best solution at all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the problem is so urgent in London. To prove my independence, I would be prepared to consider having some mayoral free schools if I thought there was no other solution.
Okay, but you said that you would be lobbying for this, yeah? And it is the Department for Education which controls all the decisions about new academies and the free schools. You are trying to lobby for something that unions like NUT, ATL and Local Schools Network have been harshly criticizing since the inception of the policy. Now, don't you think your position, your stance about this would put your position as a candidate for the London mayor in jeopardy?
No, I think this is where I have to again play the non-party political role. Say, ideally, we would have enough schools in London now to be giving our primary education a decent education. That's not the case. And even if we start building schools now, there's going to be a gap, there's going to be a lag. And I'm just saying, to prove how much I care about this, I would be prepared, if there is a desperate need, one of the ways that we can provide education relatively quickly now is to create a free school. Like you, I have huge reservations about free schools. All I'm saying is I think the problem has become so desperate now, something needs to be done. So I'm certainly not an advocate of free schools at all. But I'm saying if there is no other solution and you are seeing classroom sizes getting too big, kids being taught in old warehouses, which is happening in a couple of boroughs, that can't continue.
Yeah, but unions are saying, especially within the last few days since Sunday conference of the NUT, they've been saying this is a waste of money.
Yeah.
You're saying you would be considering this, although there's a huge criticism
Yeah.
by key players in this country. Do you think that you can confront them?
Yeah, I do, because this is where the independent, one of the things that I can do with the unions as well is to have a conversation with the unions without all of that party political baggage. I'm not saying I think free schools are the right way to go. I don't think they're the best future for our education system. I'm just saying they provide one possibility for me as mayor to do something relatively quickly when there is an urgent need. My long-term solution for London is to build proper decent schools. That's the solution.
Hold on. Yes.
Although we've covered that area already, I'd like to two issues I'd like to take up. One, the congestion zone, and the other one, culture and police because I'm affected by it too. Basically, the western extension from Marble Arch all the way to Holland Park Roundabout, they'd set up all these stalls and consultation, they were educating the ignorant general public or whatever, and there was a huge opposition, and yet it went in, It was right from the beginning a non-starter, and then they scrapped it.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that there is all this kind of mechanism for, public opinion and doing surveys and this and the other and getting a poll, of opinion and all that, and yet doing what you want to do in the first place, which was that it was it was like a foregone conclusion they were going to extend it all the way. There was all this opposition, it still went ahead, and then they scrapped it as a failure. What do you have, in your manifesto for things like that not to take place again? Because I lived in at that time in the Western Extension. That's number one. Number two, I'm also a diversity awareness trainer with the police, and I train the police, part of the police. And I get groups of 15 to all the way up to 30 sometimes. And when you have a spread of the kind of people they are, they're just human, like anybody else. There are some very nice people, there's some not so nice, there's some very warm, some very cold. What I'm saying is that yes, you could have an organization with lots of good individuals, but if you're going to put in a program, especially because I was affected by this, adversely affected, as soon as the measures were brought in, cutbacks and all this, the first thing that got the hit was training. Something we can do away with. And I felt that it was high time that people were better educated. So although they have a budget for training and all this, but it was the first one to be chopped. What
I completely agree with you. It's the same in most organisations, that when the budget becomes tight, the things that get hit are learning and development, training, diversity schemes, all of those get cut. And the long-term knock-on effect of that is hugely detrimental to that organisation. That's exactly the type of things that I review as cut up. You can see clearly in the Met that there is a problem. And I'm not just saying this is a problem for their relationship with the public. Actually, within the Met, there's quite a lot of unhappiness within the police officers and the police staff themselves.
and politics.
And politics, exactly. And actually, I'm a very firm believer that we will not get policy right until we have public leaders that reflect the public they're serving, that look like the public they're serving. One of the reasons I'm standing is because I think I'm slightly more representative of London than Boris and Ken. We have fantastic diversity in London. You wouldn't know it from the mayoral candidates. And every organisation needs to do more to improve diversity at the top of their organisation. And the Met Police is a long way from doing this. A long way from doing that. So I completely agree with that. I think you have to tackle that at all levels. And you have to put the business case back in for saying this stuff is really important. And you can see when you don't have that in there, the effect you have on it.
Well, we had the riots.
Yeah.
Only a few months after that.
Yeah, definitely one of the factors that contributes. In terms of big things that I might roll out that people won't like, I haven't got any. I haven't got any big plans for any big, infrastructure projects in my manifesto. I don't have any vanity projects in there. I know there is not a lot of money in the public purse at the moment. I'm saying make better use of the people and the resources that we have. And it's unlocking people that I want to do. It's unlocking potential and talent and opportunities in London. And you will transform London if you get that right.
So you wouldn't do another consultation on the Heathrow thing? You just do that?
Again, that would be a national government. That would be a national government decision, I guess, on that. And they are going to consult on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was wondering, I have two questions actually. One of them is, what are
I
your
think just
thoughts?
pick the best one because we're in the last couple of minutes.
An easy one.
Shall I just give you the opportunity to see what's the best one? No, what are your thoughts about big society? And the other one is actually, if I have the possibility, of course, thank you. I just read today about how we talked about the quality of education, but I read today about how the pressure is felt by students in the education itself. How because of that they are feeling much
like how you said, much less confident in everything in their education. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think about something about to improve that part of the education?
I'll take both of those really quickly, if that's right.
Thank you.
I actually think we're getting it very wrong in schools, but I know I do know on that I'm straying way out of the mayor's remit. When I look at my own children and what we're going through, I think from day one nowadays when kids go into school, it's all about what exam can you pass to get you into university. To me, that's not what education is. Education should be broadening our children's experience. It should be teaching them how to solve problems. It should be giving them a positive outlook on life. That's not what we do in our education system. And I think we do need to take the pressure off kids and let them live a little bit. So I can speak on that as a whole other debate, and I mean that's so different. Big society. I got really annoyed, and I'm still really annoyed by the patronising way this government brought in big society. We have fantastic societies in London. We have communities and organisations and charities that are doing brilliant work in London. So for a government to come in and say society is broken and what we need is a big society, that was rubbish. That already exists, they just didn't see it in front of them. And what they're doing now is very dangerous. They're saying all of these charities out there have to do our job for us, but by the way, we're going to take all your funding away from you. And you cannot do that. You cannot put all of that pressure on charities to do all of that work and then remove the means from them for delivering anywhere. So I don't buy into the big society thing. And also, where did it stop? Is a free school a big society? There was no clarity over what they meant. They were just coming in. I feel very strongly about this. They were coming in with a preconceived idea that communities and charities and organisations were not vibrant in London, and I would challenge that because that's not what I see around me. I think we have fantastic organisations in London doing brilliant work.
I mean, Boris said it was rubbish as well to say society was broken.
So society was broken, yeah, but I think he brought into big society.
Yeah, especially it's difficult not to do that, I suppose. But we're sort of in the last couple of minutes, and I kind of feel like I want to sort of wrap up because we're sort of heading into our time a bit, and I'm sure we should probably
Just got a manifesto to finish on.
if what happens on May the 4th if you're not the mayor? Are you going to stay in London politics? Are you going to run again? Or are you here for one shot? Or?
I'm so focused on the 3rd of May, and I'm in this to win it. I wouldn't ask people to vote for me if I didn't think I was going to have a chance of winning this election. What I can say is, in doing this,
that's a very politician's answer.
whole
Someone who doesn't want to be a politician.
Generally, if I'm asking people to vote for me, I'm not going to do the Jenny Jones or Brian Paddock, which is basically, I don't think I can win this, but you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. Rubbish, you know, I want to do this because I think I'm the best candidate in this election. And I will say that until May the 3rd when I get into City Hall. What I can say is the experience of doing this is so positive. And I have met so many inspirational people that it is all good. It is all good. Only good things for me can come out of it.
Sean, please, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.
Can I would just like to ask, how many people actually know who they're going to vote for May 3rd? Yes.
All the hands
Okay, thank you very much. I did actually forget to mention that we do focus on the talk element as opposed to the hard in the dialogue society office, but nevertheless it sounds fantastic. Well, fantastic questions. Thank you.
Call it a gentle chat next time.